this is the stem stitch. So I'm working here. This is what we're aiming toward, and I've just got my thread started. So I'm going to go down into the fabric through all 3 layers so I can feel with my back finger that needle coming through. Now I'm going to bend the fabric back towards the needle. So I just felt it come completely out. So I want to go all through the 3 layers and bend back and come up almost directly in the center between where my needle went in and where my needle came out at a tiny bit of an angle. So I'm always going to have my thread to the right for me and my needle toward the left coming out. So I'm going to pull that tight. Now I have my needle, or my new thread end is halfway through this stitch. I'm going to pull that needle, that thread back to the right, and then I'm going to go down for about half of a stitch length because the stem stitch really starts halfway up through this stitch. So now I'm going to go back to where I just finished my last stitch. Sounds more complicated than it is, but pretty much you're going to just keep adding a half a stitch length. This is like a really tight back stitch, an overlapped back stitch, but it's called a stem stitch. I really like it for writing and for making, like, I think it's called a stem stitch because of the stem of flowers were done with it a lot in Victorian times. So you can imagine that this is really a strong stitch because you're getting so many layers of your, there's my puppy, so many layers of your thread. And this is how it looks on the back. I'll do one more so you can see. So in about halfway or half the length, pretty much you're trying to match from here to here. You're trying to match that again. So go down that amount and then push all the way through, needles through the back. It's going to come back up at the end of that other stitch, and we're going to move our thread to this side, to the right side, so your thread's always on the same side of your needle, pulling up. It'll get really wibbly if you go back and forth. So there is the look of a stem stitch. To finish a stem stitch, you can just go, instead of finishing the last stitch, you can just go right back through where that last stitch came out, and it stops it. To do a curved stem stitch, especially if you're doing like lettering, let's start that. So we're going to just start with, I'm going to kind of make a C shape, like a rainbow shape. So I'm just holding, I actually want the thread over here. Maybe we'll do it the other way. So you can, if stem stitching is easier where you can hold your thread this direction, I'm putting in one stitch length and then I'm coming up halfway in between those stitches. So there's one. This is probably easier to do, to hold the thread on the side that your fingers are on. I don't really need this pin anymore, so I'm just going to take that out. Hello, Took. How are you? I'm gonna pull that out. Halfway past, or the same length from here to here, I'm going to go one more half length and then put my needle coming out right at that last stitch. Now, I don't try to stitch in a different direction. I move my project to match which direction I want to stitch from. That is my other puppy Dobby whining. So here is halfway out, and we'll just keep going. Oops, that one was a little off. I just stop before I pull through and look at it. I'm still too far out. Okay, I'm gonna go back through. This time I've lined it up perfect. And if you find that your stitches aren't staying tight together like that, just shorten your stitch length. Make your stitches a little smaller, especially as you're going around curves. It might help. So thread over, holding that with my thumb, and then going in, making sure I get all the way to the back of the project and back through. And then finishing it off, I'm just going to go back through that last hole, or as close to it as I can. And there's my little circle. There's my circle from the back. And that is the stem stitch. Have fun stitching.